To test their colored rays of light for efficacy against the old ones, the Magi hold imprisoned in a chamber beneath their library a thing that was captured in the lowest depths of the caverns that reach to the center of our sphere. It is made of the same star-born substance of which the seven lords are composed. Centuries passed when the walls of the monastery were raised on the foundations of an ancient ruin. The builders discovered this creature beneath the hill, imprisoned by potent seals of magic within a strange cell of iron. How it was compelled to enter its prison, or who and what imprisoned it, remains unknown. Instead of seeking to destroy it, the monks preserve it for their study. Either they are more courageous than the ranks of other men, or more foolhardy, for it is certain that they hold a dragon coiled in a net of gossamer. And what shall it matter whether they are brave or foolish when the dragon opens his mouth to breathe forth fire? In the deepest cellar of the library is set a small and uninteresting door of plain wood planks, its lintel low enough so as to require even a man of moderate height to bend over when passing through its frame. It is kept locked with an iron lock of simple design, very easy to force using the thin blade of a dagger for a man accustomed to such work. Stone stairs lead steeply downward immediately. Beyond the door into darkness, so that care must be taken not to stumble. At the bottom of the stair is a vaulted corridor of roughly dressed stone blocks, illuminated at infrequent intervals by oil lamps that hang from chains set into the walls. These lamps are kept perpetually refilled and are always burning. No sentries are placed in these lower levels, for the Magi do not believe that any but they themselves could traverse the corridor, and they have complete trust in all members of their order. Nor would they suspect danger from a feeble-minded and mutilated slave that they have in their compassion taken into their care. During the day, the chance of discovery is great, for there are frequently men moving about, but in the hours after midnight, the lower levels of the library are abandoned, and the risk is slight. At the end of the corridor is a large circular chamber with a domed ceiling that appears to be of Roman design, and may well be centuries older than the monastery above it. An iron cage in the shape of a sphere, composed of interlocking bands riveted together at their intersections, hang above the floor on three massive chains, the links of which are so large that the hand of a man could easily pass through their openings, were it possible to reach them. The cage hangs suspended above the stone floor, higher than a man can reach, but by jumping upward, it would be possible to touch it, should anyone be so foolish as to try, for the thing within would surely reach downward between the iron bands and slay any who ventured so near. The iron bands of the sphere are massive enough to withhold the ram of a siege engine, but alone it is doubtful they could retain the creature that crouches on its haunches within the boundary, filling their compass with its translucent bulk. On the inner surface of the dome, the floor below the sphere, and on the walls surrounding it are painted pentacles of dread significance, so arranged that their aspects conjoin at the center of the chamber, and it is these rays of subtle and unseen force that are the true prison. The thing in the cage watches the approach of those who enter the dome, motionless and subdued, almost appearing to be a great sculpture of hazy rock crystal shot through with clouds of various dull colors, for such is the appearance of its otherworldly body. The thing in the cage watches the approach of those who enter the dome, motionless and subdued, almost appearing to be a great sculpture of hazy rock crystal shot through with clouds of various dull colors, for such is the appearance of its otherworldly body, which is not composed of flesh similar to the flesh of common living creatures. It watches and waits, but the terrible power of its will can be felt as a touch upon the skin. Like the crawling legs of countless insects, and more sharply on the forehead between the eyebrows. That sentence has dread significance. With its mind, it seeks to compel those who gaze upon it to wander nearer until they are beneath the sphere, and it is able to reach down with its taloned hand, as with the striking head of a serpent, and snatch out their lives. Its will can be resisted by a strong mind, for the pentacles on the wall weaken and contain it. Allegedly. However, the traveler is advised not to allow his attention to wander even for a matter of minutes, or he will find himself standing beneath the sphere and may not have the quickness of limb to save himself. Its 6 small eyes exert a compelling force, and through them the creature may choose to communicate its thoughts, which reach the human mind as a sort of articulate intention or surmise, and also in the form of mental images. And that is one of the spawn of great Cthulhu. There can be no doubt, for its shape is much the same as the carved and painted images of its creator. Though there are minor differences in the form of little importance or interest, since they cannot be turned to any useful account. Great leathern wings lie folded upon its back, its feet bear talons like those of a hawk, and its face is a mass of writhing protuberances resembling the bodies of hideous serpents. If the traveler falls to his knees before the sphere and makes the recognized gestures of obeisance and worship before the thing, placing his hands over his face and bowing his head to touch the stone floor, its indifference will quicken to an intense interest, for it will perceive that the traveler is not merely another of the Magi coming to further torture it with their colored rays of light and other weapons, but a servant of dreaming Cthulhu. 2 emotions will surge within it: and be felt by the mind of the traveler as palpable blows. The first is hope, and the second is a blind rage and lust for vengeance, so potent it is all but overwhelming, and gives rise to the urge to scream and or run from the chamber. If the traveler can master his emotions, the thing in the cage will quickly perceive that it cannot control his mind with force, and it will be made amenable to bargain for its freedom. The only currency it can offer in its captive state is knowledge, but its knowledge is vast, although much of it lies beyond the comprehension of the human mind or the scope of human use. It is of so alien a nature. The offer of freedom is not difficult to justify, for it would only be necessary for the pentacles on the walls of the chamber to be covered over with pigment or otherwise defaced, and those that remain on the dome and the floor would be unable to contain the creature, would then burst its iron bands with ease. So the creature itself will instruct in the form of images sent into the mind that appear in the imagination like the moving pictures of dreams. Among the most useful of its instructions is the manner of compelling other men or women to perform whatever action you desire. This is not like the spell of glamour that deceives the senses into seeing or hearing what is not present to see or hear, but a way of projecting the will into the minds of others so that they are made to move and speak against their own inclination. The compulsion is not absolute, for when it is perceived by a person of strong will, it can be resisted. It is most effective when used in such a way that the one enslaved by its power does not realize that his actions are directed from beyond his own mind. It is natural for us to assume that when we do a thing, we have a reason for doing it, and provided the action is not too outrageous, we seldom question its source. The creature in the iron spear has the power to hear within its mind the thoughts that are sent to it, making it possible to ask questions. And though it is necessary to articulate the thoughts with the clarity of spoken speech, it cannot discern thoughts that are less clearly expressed, and the traveler will take great care to conceal his true intentions until he has achieved his ends. For if the thing perceives his treachery, it will resist disclosing its secrets. After the traveler has inquired of the creature and has received from it the teachings he most desires, it is best that he withdraw from the chamber quickly before the thing realizes that he does not intend to release it. For its rage will be great, and it may yet find a way to use the power of its thoughts to induce the traveler to commit some careless error that will bring him within reach of its claws. It is perhaps needless to add that it would be foolhardy in the extreme degree to actually fulfill the bargain and release the thing from its iron prison, for without question it would immediately slay everything within the walls of the monastery, including the traveler himself. He need not fear that the creature will betray his loyalties to the Magi on two counts. First, the thing hates the monks too deeply to ever give them any benefit, and second, that it will cling to the hope that the traveler may, at some future time, be induced to aid its purposes. In this way, his trespasses in the lower chamber of the library will pass unnoticed, unless he is the victim of ill fortune, for what man can control the vagaries of fate? thing in the cage watches the approach of those who enter the dome, motionless and subdued, almost appearing to be a great sculpture of hazy rock crystal shot through with clouds of various dull colors, for such is the appearance of its otherworldly body, which is not composed of flesh, similar to the flesh of common living creatures. What type of flesh? The bodies of tangible substance adopted by the old ones cannot be called their true forms, which are so monstrous and uncouth that the mind of man cannot hold them without madness. Yet, in their shapes, expressing matter, and on a level that can be fathomed by thought down to flesh, their essential natures, which transcend both flesh and form itself as we understand these things. When their bodies are broken apart, they immediately reshape themselves, for the will that projects the pattern upon which they are based is able to draw together the bits and fumes of matter, even as they are scattered, so that a wound at once closes and is made smooth, and a limb struck off by a sword is regrown. It is due to this property of reformation that the body of Cthulhu can be both dead yet merely asleep. So it is that the old ones can never be killed, for they do not live. Such is their dreadful majesty. Before which all the greatness of our world is but the plaything of a child. What recourse has any sane man other than to worship them? The sons of Sirius know this truth, yet in their ignorance they think to find a way to disperse the bodies of the old ones in a manner that will prevent their reformation. They are fools, for if an artist draws a portrait in charcoal on a sheet of parchment and the wind strips it from his hands and tears it to bits, shall he not simply draw another image to replace the first, and yet another if that is lost, and ever onward, until the end of time itself? Their bodies are not bred upon the earth, but are sent as a pattern from the outer spaces that lie beyond the zones of the four elements, and this pattern or ideal shape is then made tangible by the accretion of matter, which is organized and held together solely by the will of the Lord whose body it becomes. The thing in the cage watches the approach of those who enter the dome, motionless and subdued, almost appearing to be a great sculpture of hazy rock crystal shot through with clouds of various dull colors, for such is the appearance of its otherworldly body, which is not composed of flesh, similar to the flesh of common living creatures. The thing trapped within the iron spirit beneath the library has a trick of which the traveler must be wary, especially if he is a man of weak will, whose mind is accustomed to gaze inward upon the memories and scenes of the imagination. In this condition of waking dream, if ever his concentration wanders from the creature, he will be caught as a fly in the web of a spider, unable to escape. The spawn of Cthulhu has not 100th part of the power of the mind of the dreaming god that is its master. Yet it is skilled in all forms of thought magic. It knows a formula by which it can transfer the essence of its awareness into the body of another living being, while the mind of that creature is kept within its own vacated translucent bulk. In this way, it has secretly studied the defenses of its enemies by entering the body of a monk, weak of will, who was set to tend to it. Then wandering about the compound of the monastery, sampling the books in the library, examining the weapons created to war against the old ones, and searching for weaknesses in the defenses of the Magi, it attempted the same trick upon a traveler who came in secret to its prison to question it. But he was a necromancer, and his will was not weak. The traveler recognized the intrusion of the alien mind and repulsed it with the elder sign and the invocation of words of power that set a shield before his mind that the spawn could not pierce, allegedly. The solidity of the shield surprised the creature that it was caused to lower its guard upon its thoughts. The traveler saw the memories of the possession of the monk, a young Greek named Adrian, who retained no awareness of his expulsion from his own body, but merely seemed to sleep all the while the spawn walked inside his shell. He saw the purpose of the spawn, its deep guile and endless patience. Fearless in its immortality, it watches and waits. And plans the downfall of the sons of Sirius. In after days, it amused the traveler who had received the formula of Yog from the spawn to see the monster gazing at him through the eyes of the monk Adrian, as they passed each other in the library or upon the paths of the monastery compound. Neither acknowledged the presence of the other or gave any sign of recognition, but the traveler fancied that he could discern a faint gleam of inhuman mirth in the depths of the monk's eyes, as of one who shares a matter of portent with another that remains unsuspected by the crowd in the marketplace. In after days, it amused the traveler who had received the formula of Yog from the spawn to see the monster gazing at him through the eyes of the monk Adrian, as they passed each other in the library or upon the paths of the monastery compound. Neither acknowledged the presence of the other or gave any sign of recognition, but the traveler fancied that he could discern a faint gleam of inhuman mirth in the depths of the monk's eyes, as of one who shares a matter of portent with another that remains unsuspected by the crowd in the marketplace. Use my Necronomicon bookmark. That's called a Necronomicon in a Necronomicon. Like a dream within a dream, that's a Necronomicon within a Necronomicon.